Hi, this is Terry Sofian. I'm the creator of Stars of Empire. This is my cat Tuxedo. He will not be rolling up a character today because any cat-based character is way too good for any game. So there's a pen. Play with that. So we're going to roll up a series of characters today. I've got behind me Jeff Crowder, and then off camera are two of the Clements, John Clement and Max, his son. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at character creation in the Stars of Empire world. This is still a draft set of rules. We've got a year until we're due to deliver, and so this will be considered kind of a beta test. So again, take what we do with a grain of salt, but we are going to create some characters. We're going to create some characters with about 200 points, which is a little bit above average, but still a good place to start. So, one of the things we start with, of course, is a character sheet. Okay. Now, this is another thing that we fully intend on making sure we change. We don't like it. It's a little too vanilla. So we're going to do something that looks a lot better graphically, but it does serve the purpose. We also have a couple of hard copies of the character creation rules, which we're going to start with, and electronic copy for Jeff over there. So basically what we're going to start with is a discussion of what this character consists of and how to build them. Character that not only could function in the physical universe, but could function in the social universe of the Victorian, which is at least as important for a lot of characters. The Victorian gaming is a lot different than, say, standard fantasy gaming, because usually you don't have to worry about etiquette, you don't have to worry about whether you put out the right fork for your dinner, all that stuff. But in Victorian gaming, things like that, the interactions between characters can become really, really important on a social setting. So the fact that we've developed a third of the character into social interactions, I think really sets the Victorian and our game apart from a lot of other games. Physical is pretty simple. Strength, very, very standard. Agility, also standard. Intelligence is your ability to reason. Willpower is how likely you are to maintain your own path in the face of adversity. And then personality, how pleasant you are or how convincing you are. It could be a lot of different things, but basically if you have a high personality skill, that means that when you interact with other people, they take you seriously, they listen to what you say, they find you appealing in some fashion, or perhaps just impressive. Comeliness is your physical attractiveness, your old charisma skill from D&D. So those are our 6 basic stats. So we're going to do this like a cooking show does, which is hey, we showed you all the ingredients and now we're going to show you what it all looks like, making it easy. We're going to do a little more than that. But so we've done our 4 characters. Mine is probably the simplest, so if you could reach over for that for me.
Certainly.
All right. So, and what we'll do is we'll post these character sheets up probably on the Hive Coin and Country website. So, I spent 200 points. I spent 15 on intelligence and 15 on will. I spent 16 on personality and 10 on comeliness, 8 on strength, and strangely 18 on agility. I spent the vast majority of my points on continuing income, starting income, and gave myself a social status high enough that it makes sense for me to have that much money. I also spent 40 points on 2 social skills, on haggle and persuade, which is how I made my money. So, pretty simple character, not a lot going on with him, but that's my 200 points. So, spent 30 points on continuing income, 30 points on starting income, which is maxed out, and then 20 on haggle and persuade, and then some reasonable basic stats. So, and we'll look at how those roll over to secondary stats for other folks who've got a lot more going on. So, all right. So let's look at Max's character here.
Oh boy.
So, Max, what was your character concept when you finally got it done?
Well, I still wanted to stick with the engineer who builds stuff and just helps around by repairing things that could get broken in.
Okay, so let's see. So Max has 20 intelligence and 20 will, 10 in personality and 10 in comeliness, 10 in strength and 15 in agility. Okay, his country of origin is Britain. He's got a secondary attribute of 15 for toughness, which is his strength plus his size. Okay, humans are size 5. So, his social level is lower middle class. He has some social skills, 5 in etiquette, 5 in direct, which is how I tell people to do stuff, 10 in lie. Okay, so for starting money he had £100. For continuing income he gets £100 a year. So he has some physical skills, which include drive. And drive could be anything from a wagon to a steam gurney to anything like that. He's got 5 in repair and 5 in swim. His mental skills include knowledge, 5 for engineering. He's got 2 mental fortes, eidetic memory, because everybody's got to have that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's actually pretty period because Sherlock Holmes obviously had it. So, and then he's got another mental forte, which I really like. It's one of the ones of the mechanics that we really liked playing with. It's called I Have That Right Here. Basically, instead of having to look on his character sheet for everything every time, he's able to make a roll, and anything he might have forgotten, he might have. The idea is that the bigger or rarer the item, the more unlikely he is to have it, but the smaller and more common items, he probably has it somewhere in a pocket or a pouch, or his knapsack or his bedroll or something. He's also got a physical forte of jury rig, and what that does is it lets him do repairs without the proper tools and equipment. Okay, so again, 200 points. Now, with his starting money, he had a big question, which is how do I spend it? The book is going to include enough equipment that you can outfit a party fairly easily, but what we really recommend is that you go out and spend a few bucks on Amazon and get something like this, which is the Sears and Roebuck catalog. It's a reprint. This one is from 1897. These usually run about 20 bucks. You can find them cheaper sometimes. We have a Montgomery Ward one as well. Okay, so again, they're available, they're cheap, and there's no way that any game company could ever provide 500 pages of things like fishing reels, rods. Oh, a butcher's cleaver. So, you know, anything you want and anything a Victorian would need can be found in these catalogs. Saddlery. So, again, we really recommend that instead of us wasting a whole lot of pages on this kind of stuff, that you guys go out and check Amazon, check eBay, check bookfinder.com, and just pull up one of these. It'll do you right. And it saves us that page count that we can do for other stuff. So, again, we think that that's a pretty good deal. We'll have enough stuff in the book that you can outfit a party, but if you want to get it in real depth, I mean, there's things in these like mobile dark rooms, camp furniture, all the cooking utensils you'd ever need. So if you wanted to know every last widget your character has or the party has, that's the way to do it. Okay? So, again, it's fun to just read the stuff. There's all kinds of really weird things in there. The Harrods catalog has coffins. So be aware that there's also a reprint Harrods catalog, but it's hard to find and it's usually pretty expensive when you do. But the Sears ones, the Montgomery Ward, there's one for Abercrombie and Fitch back when they were an outfitter before they became a really trendy clothes store for teens. So that's also worth getting your hands on. Really nice stuff, really easy to deal with. Period reprints, perfect for the Victorian science fiction or steampunk gamer. Has all kinds of stuff you'd never even think that was in there. So just to be aware, if you're looking for weapons, rifles, shotguns, pistols, those are under sporting goods in these catalogs. So they could be a little hard to find. All right. Jeff, are you up?
Yep.
Okay, so let's look at Jeff's character now.
All right. So, my original concept of being a aristocratic gentleman adventurer, had to modify that a little bit. Did not have enough points to make him a member of the landed nobility. Instead, he's a gentleman who has been a soldier his entire life, and as a result of his military endeavors, he was he was made Baronet Haysworth. So he has Order of Chivalry. Spent some points there, but he's not very. It's not a very prestigious title, and he's also a rather impoverished gentleman. Did not have much in the way of starting money. He comes out of the service as he's cashiered with only 10 shillings in pocket. He has a small minor investment of £50 every year. This, in combination with his retired income as a colonel, is still not enough to maintain his social standing. So that is part of the motivation for him needing to adventure. I spent most of my points on fortes and on his background elements rather than the skills. For example, his physical forte, the picture of health. He's acclimatized to the tropics. He's social forte, a leader. He has old school ties and he's retired. Mental fortes, literacy, and profession as a soldier. So this was all developing from my concept of him as again, a lifelong soldier who spent the majority of his time in the Near East and the Middle East, in India and in Persia. He's picked up a little bit of Farsi and Hindi along the way. Not enough to make him very literate, but enough to understand a little bit of what the natives might be saying. In addition, some of the other fortes I picked up to go along with all the other skills and things, or excuse me, all the other previous fortes he's got are things such as a commissioned rank as a colonel, the Order of Chivalry as baronet, social standing 6, reputation. He's established upper middle class, and he has acquired some tactics and strategy as well. So I'll be relying more upon his attributes and his fortes rather than skills per se.
Okay, and that really showcases how you can really nuance a character and have them be have a lot of depth and a lot of texture and a lot of detail in that character, and still get within that 200 point frame. Although what we've really kind of decided here today is we'll probably go to a 250 point for an average character. 200 seems a little bit tight. So again, as we move forward, we're going to be play testing this more and more. If you have an interest in play testing, we have a very active Yahoo group, which is Hive Queen at yahoogroups.com. So just look for us on the Yahoo group, and if you go to my webpage, which is hivecleaningcountry.com, we have a link to it. So just look for us there. So let's look at John's character, which is the last one we did.
All right. I have the scratch sheet where I was just thinking and doing math and stuff like that, and then
There is math to be done here, so
Oh yeah.
yeah. So mostly addition, subtraction, division.
Well, point-based system. I mean,
Yeah.
No one's
But-
going to crunch your points for you.
No,
But then once I got it to be a little more definitive, I put it on the proper sheet and everything. So I wanted to make an explorer, but I didn't want to be in the military, and I didn't want to be in the nobility, so I had to figure out how a common person could be an explorer. So I had this little story I made up about how some kid who comes out of Liverpool just gets on a ship, ends up having almost like a Tom Hanks type castaway experience, gets rescued, and then becomes a little bit famous for that. And that's how he could eventually be that explorer concept that I envisioned without having to be Admiral Byrd or the Gentleman Explorer or something like
and
that.
actually, there's historical precedent for this because a guy named Wallace, who was the co-discoverer of the principle of evolution, actually had a very similar experience to that. He was a young man, he was a young scientist, he went overseas, he was shipwrecked, and his entire collection and all his notebooks were lost, and he ended up having to reestablish his entire life. But it does fit very much with the character concept that John's talking about here.
So how I worked that out in the game mechanics then was I figured out, and you probably have too if you're familiar with the game at all, that if you want to have 20s and everything, and there's 6 stats, then that's 120 points. That leaves you
Right.
with 80 points left over. I remember mentioning this to Terry, and he says, "Oh, but they wouldn't go as far as you think." So I went with 15s and everything, just to keep it simple. I put 15s across the board.
Right.
So all my stats are above average, but I'm not like the best in the world. But if you're above average in everything, it's going to take you pretty far, I think. And then I looked at the skills that I would actually really need for sure to be the character that I envisioned as the explorer. I'd need climbing to climb mountains and cliff faces. I took athletics,
Repair,
Yeah.
swim.
stealth,
Stealth.
for hunting. There's a skill I almost took was trapping, so that I could have trapped food and taken care of myself on the island. Then for fortes, I found one that I just fell in love with: never sick a day in your life.
Right, and
Fell
that
in
gives
love with
you a
that
really
one.
high immune system. So, and that also explains how he managed to survive in the tropics. Is his immune system's able to fend off things like malaria and cholera and things like that.
Exactly.
So that was why he survived when so many other people have not.
And then, of course, jury rig is something that a survivalist would also
Right.
need. And then the other forte that interested me was oratory, because if I've made some money off of this book deal, then obviously I have to have a speaking tour. So, and then this also connects, then the other aspect of the game, of course, is social and financial. So I had to come down to what's my social status and what, how much money do I have. And just like Jeff mentioned, and I noticed, I haven't mentioned this to Terry yet, so live on the video I'm mentioning this now, but I'm thinking, is this on purpose? Because there's a table for your social status and how much money it takes to maintain that social status every year of your character's life. Otherwise, it says the consequences every year you'll slide down one level. And then, of course, there's the table for your money and your annual income. They don't correlate one-to-one, and so they provide, like Jeff mentioned, this impetus as to why your character's adventuring, why you're in this campaign. You know, your character, like my character, he's got some money coming in, but not enough to pay for his social stuff. I went with wealth rank 5 and social status rank 5. Well, wealth rank 5 will not maintain social status rank 5. They don't correlate one-to-one. So that's the impetus
Right.
for going out and adventuring.
And that is really one of the things we're looking at. So, and one thing that we haven't gotten into because that's more in gameplay is when the referee hands out experience, he may not hand out character creation points. He can, but he doesn't have to. He could hand out a skill, or he could hand out a monetary bonus. So there's a lot of different things that a referee can reward players with that is a little outside the traditional realm, but well within what happens in a Victorian setting. So that's something we'll talk about in a future video, or definitely it'll be in the book. So hopefully we give you guys enough of a look at what we do to be more interested. And since, you know, as everybody knows, I really enjoy being on a video. This has been so much fun for me. But I'd like to thank Max and Jeff and John for being here and spending the afternoon with me and helping me out with this. And hopefully I'll be able to edit it into something that looks reasonable. But again, that's how character creation goes in Stars of Empire. And I hope that gives folks an interest in it. We're a little bit different than other places. We do really concentrate on the social aspects of the setting, and the character has to reflect those social aspects. So, and there I am in all my glory. I'm now even bigger on the screen. Thanks, John. So,
I just thought there was all this space above our heads that
well, yeah,
probably.
space in my head too. But thank you guys for watching, and thank everybody who supported the Kickstarter, because again, we're doing this as kind of a background to the Kickstarter, but also we're doing it because we made our goal to get 50% funded by certain midnight. And since we did hit that goal and did get 50% funded, and we're now almost to 70% about 3 or 4 days later, I said if we hit 50% on a certain day, that I would make this video. So hopefully the video will be ready by next weekend, which is what I said, 4th of July weekend. And again, thanks to everybody who's watching, and thanks to everybody who was here and helped out. So thank you very much. Make it stop.
All right.
Make it stop.